Hello, I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden here in Ireland, and you are very welcome to the August garden tour. Now, you may well be asking what happened to the July garden tour, and the truth is that it has just been far too wet to record. We had such a wet July. It was, how do I put it, almost like a monsoon. And actually it was the wettest July in recorded history here in Ireland. And that followed the hottest June in recorded history. So, well, you can imagine the garden has had to deal with a lot. We gardeners have had to deal with a lot, but it has come through, and it has come through smiling. So, let's get on with the video. So just before we start on the garden tour, just a little preamble to tell you that I garden in Southern Ireland, and my hardiness zone roughly equates to hardiness zone 9. Now, we don't use the hardiness zone system here in Ireland, it's chiefly American, but just take that as a rough guide. It doesn't talk about how it is here in the summer, which you will understand why I emphasize this when we go around the garden now, and when I talk so much about the wetness we have had in the July just gone. Oh my goodness, it was so wet in July. It was impossible to step out into the garden and to do all those jobs that were just begging to be done, because, you know, I'm an Irish gardener. I do garden in the rain, but this was a different kind of rain. Very, very heavy, very, very torrential, and it soaked you through in a very short period of time. But let's not talk about that. We gardeners, we're always talking about the weather, aren't we? It's either the weather we're complaining about or our soil. Well, I won't mention my soil today. So we're going to start by just giving you a little pan of this side of the garden and the 3 entrances to this side of the garden. And as you can see, there is some orange colour, because orange is my absolute favourite colour for flowers. There are also some autumn colours creeping in already. But one border that has done really well this year is this one right behind me. And it has done so well because of, I guess, a mini revamp in spring, whereby I removed a whole load of salvia, blue salvia, that really wasn't very flowery at all, and replaced it with this red monarda that just looks fabulous. And you may recall, through the swings and the roundabouts, I ended up spending most of March in hospital and got to sow hardly any annuals. But these are the ones I did sow. This fantastic Tagetes Burning Embers, which has, I am going to sow this every year from now on. It is such a good plant. Another plant looking super at the moment in this border is this fantastic crocosmia. And one more thing to show you around here at the front, and it's this fantastic Xanthodesia that has done so well all summer. My goodness, it has just been amazing. Now, it's in a pot, so the fact that there was torrential rain the whole time hasn't helped water it, because it is a plant that likes water. But it has just done amazingly, and I'm so happy with it. Yeah, this is one I will definitely be growing in pots here at the front door for many years to come. Okay, so let's head on into the garden and have a look at what's going on. And in we step through the 3rd arch, just giving a little pan up this way, just so as you can see what's on around you. Plenty of blue hydrangeas here, and my box bowls, which are right down in front of us now. And just a little update on these. they seem to be responding well to the top Buxus fertilizer that I gave them to combat the box blight, and I do hope that, well, that they will return to full health. And yeah, well, so far so good. I will link to the video at the very end on how I treated my box blight. So walking down here to the lower end of the garden, and here we have, I guess, a lot of leafiness going on. We have a corner over there just behind the hydrangea, and then moving just over here to the left we have the end of my long border, and there is a lot looking good here at the moment. We're at the back end of it, but you can just about make out how there's monarda and lilies in flower, and I guess we'll get a good look at them from around the other side a bit better. The lilies we see on this side are tree lilies, lavender tree lilies, which were moved here a few years back, and they haven't yet attained their original size. So they were really, really tall in their original position. So it's taken them a while to, I guess, to get back to the original size. Down here we have a poor old thalictrum that has kind of flopped because of the rain. That's the white flowers that you see down there at the very front. And right at the back we have Phytolacca, my variegated Phytolacca, which was moved down here a few years ago. It's not the leaves of the thalictrum, which is down there. Anyway, now my agapanthus, as you can see, is just coming. Now, you know what? I'm going to take you on a magical mystery tour down the service end of the long border. So what we see on my left is the long border, which is that border there, that extends all the way over there and all the way further over there. And you need to be able to maintain these things, and I do that by means of what I'm about to show you here. So let's go in here underneath the Melancher canadensis, past the Chinchloa rubra, past this berberis, which is, well, it's a very nice colour, but oh my goodness, the thorns are deadly. And you can see what we have here at the back of the long border. It was originally grass, and now we have a plastic strip, and it just makes it easier for weeding the back of the border and just keeping it in order. And you don't see the plastic from the front. Well, you do in early spring, but you don't this time of year because of all the growth. Oh, there's that Catinus grace that I pollarded earlier on in the year, and you can see how the leaves are lovely and big and bouncy as a result of that treatment. And we do have lilies coming into flower, and this is the beautiful one called Black Beauty. They are beautiful lilies, but really quite difficult to stake. Okay, so continuing on my journey. Now, you may have guessed at this stage that I am the proud owner of a new piece of equipment, namely the gimbal that is holding this camera upright. And the gimbal is very, very useful for walking around. It's not great for the nice pans and the close-ups and that. But if you want to walk around without it looking like, you know, you're on a bicycle going down a flight of steps, then the gimbal is your only man. Right down here we have a lot of hostas, which I moved in last year when I redid the border over in the West Garden in July, and took out all those hostas and put in the picked plants. Well, these are the hostas. This is where they have gone. Now, somebody asked me about plants for shade, and hostas, of course, are one of my favourite. They are just so reliable. Only this year they have been a bit decimated by slugs, just because of the rain, I guess. So I have a lot of hostas mass planted in here, and over the other side of them we have another two of my favourites for shade, which are Podophyllum spotty dotty, an absolutely gorgeous plant with lovely markings on it. Absolutely love this one. And it does have pendant flowers, red flowers that they come into being, I think, at the beginning of the summer, and you won't notice them unless you go over to the plant and lift up the leaf and see those absolutely sumptuous flowers. And then another one of my favourites is the Japanese painted fern. Now just look at that. Those purple veins are to die for. We have a fig tree there that certainly needs a bit of pruning. Okay, so walking past again, here's the other cotinus, by the way, that I pollarded back in spring, a bit later than it should have been done, and it has grown back with large leaves, but it's less, I guess, less striking in this case than with Cotinus grace, which is the dark leafed one we saw over the other side. And then we'll go up here past my birch trees on the right, and a little shot of Hydrangea Annabelle just there on the left, that beautiful white one. And at Annabelle's feet we have Cattleya spicata, which is a fabulous plant in the ginger family that is closely related to Roscoa, and I absolutely love it. And here, beside Hydrangea Annabelle and the Cattleya spicata, we have another grouping of plants that I love for shade. Brunnera is, of course, so reliable, a gorgeous, gorgeous plant, and those silver leaves look so good. Hostas, like we mentioned before. There are some astilbes that do well in shade, and yeah, Cattleya, Roscoa. There are lots of ones that like semi-shade and moist soil. Some people were asking for an update on the experiment I did in spring, moving certain plants that I anticipated would like dry shade into a dry shade position. And this is the driest and shadiest position you can imagine because it's under a conifer tree. Now the two plants were Liriop muscari and this little Saxifrage stolonifera, and both have done really well. It has been a really wet summer, but I doubt that much has reached here underneath the conifer tree. Maybe it helped a bit, but they seem to be good candidates for dry shade. Now we are walking up here in the garden past some grasses that are adding to the kind of autumnal feel that's out here at the moment, and the temperatures really are quite cool. We have had, since we entered into August, we have certainly had less rain than before, but yeah, it's still very cool and very, I don't know, not nice really. There's some more of that Monarda on the left that I divided earlier on in the year, and just swinging around here we have a lovely plant which I've moved these seedlings in here, Selenum Wallackiana if I recall correctly, and it is just coming into flower at the moment. And then just over there we have lilies in flower. I have lots and lots of lilies in flower at the garden at the moment. Okay, so we're just moving down here. Here we have the wheel border where I planted various things. Here we have the wheel border, which had some additions put into it this year, namely tiger lilies. And if we turn around here, we can actually walk up here through the Kinacloa rubra. Now, a couple of people asked me about specific plants and updates on specific plants, one of which was the Paulonia, but we haven't come to the Paulonia yet, so I can't give you an update just yet, but I will in a minute. On my left, the Ligularia is just colouring up nicely, and this is such a pretty plant. It has been munched to bits by slugs this year because we have had so much rain, and of course rain means slugs. We're walking through here to this section of the garden where we have lots of lilies, or some lilies anyway, not lots, in this bed that looks best in May, and I'm going to move a new intersectional peony in here very soon, and that will take the place of, well, a kind of gap down there. Okay, let's just turn around to give you an idea of what's going on here. And just let's walk up this border where we have tiger lilies in flower, Lobelia tupa. It will take me a while to get the hang of this gimbal. Apologies for not maneuvering it well. Okay, so you can see there's definitely a leafy green feel about the garden at the moment, and this is when, I suppose, evergreens like this palm tree, the Trachycarpus fortunei, come into play. And we have here in front of us some tall Tetrapanax rex, and just behind we have the Paulonias, which we will have a look at in a minute. And behind these trees here we have the glass house and what I call my green border, which is just in front of the glass house. And this has plenty of lilies in flower at the moment, and Diascia personata, and the leucanthemum is still in flower, which I think is unusual for this time of year. Just there we go, a little pan over there. You can see the large Cornus cusa beginning to colour up with its autumn hues now. And then right over here we have hydrangeas in flower, white hydrangeas. We saw Annabelle already, but here we have three, two of which are paniculata. So that's the one on the left there and the one in the middle. And the one on the left here is a paniculata called Kyushu. Gorgeous thing. I really like the detail on those flowers. Super duper. A medium-sized paniculata hydrangea. And the one in the middle, much bigger, this one is called Phantom. It's amazing the growth you get in 1 year, isn't it, from the hydrangeas. So the paniculata need to be cut hard back, I guess, to a framework each spring. But the macrophylla, of which this one, is a different ball game, and hydrangea macrophylla generally gets pruned by deadheading rather than anything else. So this is a macrophylla hydrangea, and instead of being pink or blue, this one is white. But you can see that it's the same animal because the little eyes in the center of the flowers, in my case, they're blue because I have acidic soil. So that's nice. And then just swinging around here to the left to show you the wedding cake tree there. Contorted hazel. Someone also asked me for an update on my paulownias, and well, as you can see, my paulownias are doing really well. These guys should have been pollarded or coppiced in spring, but I was in hospital, so I didn't get around to it, and my goodness, I didn't do it last year either. So just look at the size of them. Now next spring they're definitely coming down. I'm going to keep just one trunk for each, and I should get the enormous leaves that I'm growing this plant for in the first place. Here's the greenhouse, and just walking up here, the service areas down the end, composts, etc. And we are not going up to see that. Oh no. Just walking around the glass house here, we will take a little bit of a better look at this border in here. And this section of it is dominated by a pink persicaria, a kind of wispy looking thing. Now I think this one is a bit thuggish, and I think I'm going to remove it. It had been kept in check for years by the fact that it was planted at the base of a conifer tree, which was sucking all of the goodness out of the soil. But when I removed the conifer tree, which is that stick there with the clematis growing up it just to the right, then what happened was that the plants can do better, and this persicaria is beginning to take over, so we can't be having that. Oh no. Now, what to do here? So I want to take you over to the other side, and we have a lot of cars here, and the back of the So I'm just going to turn off the camera for a minute while we walk over to the other side of the garden, because I don't want you to see the back of my house and my cars and everything. And here we are continuing our walk, and here we have the meditation area in there. We have columns of beech tree, and we have a big job that I did just recently, which is to prune the mock orange hedging. So the main mock orange hedging is all along here, all along down there. You see that? And I gave it a good prune, reduced it in height, and also took out a lot of the internal branches just to make it lighter. And you can actually see through that hedge now a bit. One thing you can see is the cordyline there, which was completely hidden up until now. And of course it'll grow again next year. And of course I pruned it a bit too late, so it could be that it won't flower very well next year, but it had to be done. So, you know, I couldn't do it in July, what with all the rain, so it had to be done just the beginning of August, which is now. So in here past some very nice trees, cerula, Prunus cerula, and here we have well, we have some catmint down below that I haven't cut back, despite me talking about cutting it back in a last video. I just didn't get around to it. We have hydrangeas, and we have a bed over there that is looking quite nice with pink stuff in it. This is the one I planted up last year, and it hasn't really gotten going yet, except for the lilies, who just never miss a heartbeat, do they? Never skip a beat, they just keep on going. And hopefully by next year it'll be into its stride. As you can see, I started doing some planting here and didn't finish it. And as you can also see, I have some roscoas planted here at the base of the acer tree, and one of them is still looking good. The other, oh look, there's a flower. There we go, that's newly opened. And here are the other ones. Needs a little bit of deadheading, which involves just pulling out the spent flowers. And there's more coming, you can see. And behind this border we have the hoharia tree, and this is in magnificent flower this year. It is covered in beautiful, beautiful blooms, and the scent is magnificent. First time it has flowered so well altogether, really, really doing well. Somebody asked me for an update on the plants I got from Farmer Gracie earlier on in the year, and both the echinacea and the astrantia have not flowered. The dahlias flowered, but those two didn't, so I guess there's a lesson there not to be buying bare root perennials in April. And that about brings us to the end of this garden tour video. A bit of a hybrid video, a bit of a rushed video, and I do apologise for the camera work. I will get the hang of the gimbal going forward and make, I think, more hybrid filming using the gimbal and also the camera on a tripod in the same finished product, which is what you'll see. Anyway, bear with me, I'll get the hang of it. So I hope you liked this garden visit. I hope I answered the questions that you were asking. And you know, in terms of the weather, and not wanting to hark on about it, but it has been such a terribly hard summer on so many plants, and really, really hard on us gardeners. And I also read that this March was the wettest on record, as well as last October was the wettest October on record. So wettest October, wettest March, wettest July, and hottest June on record. The climate certainly is changing. And that brings me to the end of the video, as I think I just already said. Next week I hope to have something really wonderful for you. It's a visit to someone else's garden, a fantastic tropical garden up in the north of Dublin called Medina, and I am sure you will love it just as much as I love visiting there. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye!